So it was something about Steve. Steve picked it up, and he got better and better each time we had practices. And it was something about he was smooth with running his Houston Veer. And as you notice, that's a difficult type of offense. And Lake Taylor got it from the University of Houston Cougars, wherein the quarterback can hand the ball off, or the quarterback can fake hand the ball off and pitch it to one of the backs running to the right or to the left, and pretty much reading what the defensive player is going to do. So here it is, we giving this young man who's 12 years old all this information, and then also letting him make a decision whether he's going to hand it off or pitch the ball. That was deep. In some kind of way, it just worked out. And then we got to the point where he would fake the veer or handoff and throw a pass, which he could throw anyway.
Taylor was quiet and empty, the practice canceled. A key player had died, a 17-year-old senior named Al Hatchett.
It just doesn't seem fair.
Football coach Billy Morrow. Hatchett and another, Tony Grady, came to him earlier in the day and asked to borrow his car. They had to get home to pick up some equipment.
I told him there wasn't enough gas for him to get home, so I gave him $20 and told him to put some gas in my car and bring the change back. They didn't make it back.
A city garbage truck smashed broadside into the car as Grady tried to make a left turn off of Virginia Beach Boulevard and onto Raby Road. Grady received cuts and bruises. Hatchett was crushed. People who saw the wreck knew there was just no hope. At school, shock, grief, and only praise for Al Hatchett, a model student, popular, bright, and a good football player. He played both sides of the line as a defensive end and as tackle. Coach Bobby Williams.
You sometimes stop and think, good ones like this, unfortunate things can happen.
Al Hatchett would want us to regroup, to come back, and do everything that he had ever done as a player and as a person.
My full name is Janetta Renee Shannon Gorham. I attended Lake Taylor High School, I think 1969 through 72. I graduated in 1972. Actually, I was living in Chesapeake, Virginia, and I had just received a summons because I was a bank teller and I had gotten robbed, and they had caught the guys. And ironically, Al was the one that my husband sent to get me from work because I was very distraught. So he drove me home from the bank. And not long after getting that summons, within less than an hour, my stepfather called to give me the news that Al had passed. Oh wow, it was a very devastating news, and in my life, I think my main concern was my mom, how it was affecting her, and I just remember one day I said if I could just throw everything I had in the street just to get Al back, I would do that. So it affected my whole family, my brothers and the rest of my family, and it was just a very devastating time. And now I still think of him, and I think how he would be progressing in his life now, what he would be doing, and just his accomplishments as a man now. Very happy. I couldn't believe that someone had taken the time to do that, and that my brother wasn't forgotten. I'm so looking forward to that. I'm so excited. I thank God for Steve taking the initiative and following his instincts and God's instructions to do this. This is just an awesome thing. It's an awesome honor, and my brother's legacy shall live on. I'm excited. I've never even thought of being able to do anything like this, and it's such an honor. I just feel so blessed, and it makes me feel even closer to Al. I am currently working as a special needs assistant with Guilford County Schools. My husband's name is Leo Gorham Sr. My oldest son is Leo Gorham Jr. My middle son is Levon James Gorham, and then my daughter is Albany Renee Gorham, and her name actually was given to her in honor of my brother Albany. I just feel so blessed to be able to be a part of this, and it's just a great honor. It's just I'm overflowing with feelings about it, and I've never imagined anything like this, and I'm greatly honored.
Pam Trotter, class of 86. I was there 82, 83 for my freshman year. I was in the debate team, in the French club, cheerleading squad, and dance team. It was very difficult. It was shocking. It was surreal. And it was pretty hard to believe. I was in French class when I first got the news. And it felt like everything just stopped. And you wanted to go back, rewind, and have a different outcome. It was just, it was a hard day for everybody. So not much learning that day as far as school goes. It was just a hard day. It did a lot as far as the healing goes. I remember not long before that, there was still a lot of separation and division. We had race riots at our school. But after that, things changed a lot. A lot of that just went out of the window, and we were able to come together in a way that we hadn't done before. So everyone was able to support each other and come together. And that's a big part of the healing. Use the word unity because everyone was able to unite and come together and just do whatever it took to excel that year. The games were dedicated to Al. And it was evident as the football team was able to just advance and keep going and keep going. They played phenomenally. And it was a good year. It was a good year as far as the teams go. Not just the football team. The other teams excelled as well, but especially the football team. I have a real estate brokerage. I'm a broker, and I work the whole area. I'm also a dispute resolution specialist. So I work in court, and I help people resolve their differences in or out of court.
Veronica Whitaker Robinson. I went to Lake Taylor Senior High School. I went from 1980 to 1984. I didn't play any sports. I did participate with the drama team and the dance team that was run by Mr. Roundtree. So basically that was my thing at Lake Taylor. Al's accident, it affected me it was very hard for me because Al was like a big brother to me. When I got the news, it was so hard to believe that he was gone. We couldn't believe that this could happen to such a great guy. But I was so heartbroken, and it was a tough pill to swallow, to the point where I still didn't believe it until actually the day of his funeral, and it became real to me. It became very real to me. Wow. As a whole, far as the school was concerned, Al was a big presence because he had this beautiful smile, this beautiful spirit, and whatever, he said, he was a big guy, but, for a long time, I was like, wow, he's a big guy, kind of scared of him, but he wasn't, he was just like my gentle giant, my teddy bear. That's what I always called him. But far as the, effect on the school, it hit the school very hard because he had a big impact on the school. He was friends with a lot of people, and so we took it all hard. But by him being a part of the football team, they took it very hard. And it kind of destroyed them a little, but they bounced back, and they was like, hey, listen, Al wouldn't want us to fall. We got things to do. And that's the type of person he was. But, I could go on probably forever talking about my big brother, but far as the school, we had to band together, and we did. And I mean, when I say family stuck together, we stuck together. Just say whatever happened on any night that they played a game, it was like this angel came down and said, okay, listen, we got this. We're going to do this, and we're going to make Lake Taylor known, period, across the board. We always had a fantastic football team. It's just that we never really made it to the championships like we should have. But this time it looked like this beautiful angel named Al came in and put his big wings around this team and said, hey, listen, we deserve this. We're going to do this. Let's take it on. And the more games we won, the more people came out. I mean, it was like people that really didn't come to games a lot were there. And it was like they surrounded us with a lot of love, cheering us on, cheering the team on. So, but other than that, I tell you, when we went to play the championship game, I walked in the stadium and I felt this peace. And I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a good one. We're going to be a good game. But I also looked at the other team and I was like, to one of the players' moms, I was like, oh my God, these are big country boys here. I was like, oh, but I said, I think we can take it. And I think we're going to do well. And they did very well. They came in with confidence. They prayed before they went on the field. And, and it became, we're Lake Taylor. We deserve to be here. And that's what they did. Wow. There's so many words that I could use. The legacy. Love. That would be the word that I would use. The legacy from Al, from the football game, will be love. And that basically covers it all. I am currently in the United States Navy. I have 21 years, but I also, I went back on active duty, but my other job is with the DOD as a management analyst, and that was for 31 years. So combined total, so, but right now I'm loving being a sailor. I'm hoping to retire in the next couple of years, but loving my life.
It's Deidre Tucker. Rough. I am an international blues singer. I tour the world. I'm 80 to 84. I graduated in 84. Vice President of Distributive Education. I did fashion merchandise. Didn't get to dabble in sports, but I was more of the business type person. So I was involved in that. It's a day that none of us that was at school that day will ever forget. I remember it lunchtime. It was during lunchtime, and when everything happened, and I just thought to myself, here I am in my 50s, and I thought about it, and no one has ever. I've had 2 people to pass away traumatic like that, and Hatchett, that stuck with me for 30-something years, and I'll never forget it. It just was the most, and to be a young teenager, to have something like that happen, it was a minute of trauma. I remember getting on the bus that afternoon, and it was completely silent. Everybody was kind of just in shock all the way home, and was telling my mom and dad about it, and just brokenhearted. I think that has to be something that the future football teams be able to remember, that there was somebody there that played hard. We had a great record and things were going good, and that happened. Just that just a normal day during lunchtime, he decides to use the coach's car and go home and get something that he left for football. And so I think that what I would like to see for the kids is to always remember that there was a great football player there at the school that had an amazing impact on us that was there. 80, 82, 83, 84, us that was there. That I didn't have a negative thought about the situation. I just thought, wow, experience losing someone at such a young age, that wasn't a relative, but just for somebody that walked the halls with you, somebody that you looked up to because he was a great football player, someone you admired, and something that I don't hold it against the school. I just think that he needs to be remembered. And he was a beautiful person, and we loved the football team and the pep rallies, and just a great time supporting the team. And I just think that needs to carry on. And I think remembering Hatchett would be a wonderful legacy for the school to carry on his memory. It's been over 30 years now. That it would be good for the school to just remember that situation and remember his legacy for the football team. The pep rallies, and not just the pep rallies after that. And that was a big healing for us students, because I don't think none of us really knew how to handle that, and even for the coach and what he went through, and I just think that it affected everybody. And I think that it helped at first. I think that next game that we played, I think we lost that following game after his death, but I think we picked it up and we did well after that. And I think it was so much of, let's do this for Hatchett, let's do this for the school, let's do this in remembrance of him. And I think that that's what made them guys work so hard and push through and be perseverance through their pain, because they loved him, and even the coach loved him. And it was a traumatic experience looking at those guys getting out there playing through their pain and doing so well. It made us feel like, golly, they can do that. We can do that too. Even just in life in general, just being able to push through our pain and persevere through having something traumatic like that happen to us. Those guys worked hard and they loved him, and they pushed through their pain. One word: triumph. I think triumph, because people can take a tragedy and it can either devastate them, or it can be a triumph for them. And I think the way that the football team pulled together after that happened, it was a triumph for them. And it really, like I said, it made them all realize, I know each guy on the team was hit in a different way. And I know 30-something years later, they still carry that pain in their heart. So I think triumph, to be able to stand 30-something years later after that happened, you don't necessarily forget about people like that. You have people that come and go in your life, but as teenagers, we were just teenagers. To have that happen, that's an age where you're just you're maturing and you're growing, and everything means a lot to you, and that means a lot. And 30-something years later, I see that day standing out there in the foyer there like it was yesterday. And then getting that announcement over the intercom right before school let out. Wow. So I think triumph is the way to describe what happened, and to be able to walk away from it and be able to create a legacy for him, and always remember him, and always remember the team, and always, I'm forever a Titan. I'm very proud to be class of '84.
My name is Sheila Kennedy. Attended Lake Taylor High School. I actually participated in 3 activities. The first one was NJROTC. I did that for 3 years. I also participated in the school choir for 3 years. And for my last year, I was a member of the Lake Taylor High School Awesome Band as a flag girl. The Seven Cities was very, very supportive. Everyone was behind us, um, routing us, just rallying us on so that we can, kind of win that state. So the Seven Cities was very, very supportive. Everybody was elated and extremely proud and happy that we had even made it that far. I was overwhelmed. It was actually the first year that my parents allowed me to be in an auxiliary that wasn't held during the school year. I'm sorry, during the actual time frame of school. So for me, I was very excited. It was so important for me to be able to do something like that. And when I actually made the team, I was elated. Actually, two great moments. The first one was when we actually won and was able to go to the state championships. So that was amazing. There was also a second moment for me, which was not so great, but it was definitely memorable. We stopped in Danville to get lunch on our way to the state championships. And there were several trucks just circling our buses, so that we couldn't get off. And they were yelling racial slurs and, anything that you can think of that's totally inappropriate to say. And so for me, that was a moment, a really, really defining moment for me that I'll never forget. And unfortunately, those were my two most memorable moments. A couple of things. One was, the devastating piece when we lost Al Hatchett, one of our great football players. He got in a car accident, and at the beginning of the season, it was really, really devastating for us. A lot of us went to school with him, as well as grew up with him in the neighborhood. And when the tragedy happened, it was really sad. It was really sad. We had to actually, just come together and try to deal with the terms as teams. We had to talk to each other, talk to the counselors. They were there for us, the teachers, the faculty. It was a really hard time. Utilize the pep rallies to bring light into the situation and always made sure that we mentioned him and, they kind of build our spirits up. It helped me to learn how to deal with those things for people that are, close to you, people that you know, and even for people that you don't know. And then also when it came down to the buses that were circling us, it helped me to learn how to deal with racism, because unfortunately it is something that we're still prevalent today and we have to constantly deal with. A customer CSAT analyst for teleperformance. I've stepped back from the corporate world, gearing up for retirement. And so I enjoy working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, no responsibilities. I love it. Take off when I want to, and it allows me to be able to spend time and good quality time with my kids, grandkids, and my husband. So I love it. I knew Al Hatchett as a schoolmate, as a football player. He was definitely an individual that you would never forget. He was so funny. He was a funny guy to be around, but he was so dedicated. When it came down to football, if he could be out on that field 24 hours a day, he would be there. So he was definitely missed. He held the team together, and it was a big loss for us. I do believe that everything happens for a reason, and God does not make mistakes. Very important that you don't shut down and close yourself off and, just try to ignore it, because it doesn't go away. It's something that you have to deal with. Have to make sure that you're taking the time to talk to people, whether it be your friends or your family or a counselor, grief counselor, anybody that's available, that's willing to listen and that's willing to help you get beyond that, because unfortunately it's a part of life. And we have to learn how to handle it, because when you don't handle it, it doesn't go away and it just eats away at you. So you have to definitely take the time out to talk about it and go through that process. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's definitely something that's going to take some time, depending on how close you were to that person. But you definitely need to make sure that, that you're dealing with that. And also with the way things are going nowadays, we're having a lot of deaths, and then we have a lot of things going on with, the police brutality and, just the utmost racial things that you would not think that we would still be going through. I would advise people to stand up for what's right, do the right thing. Don't sit down. Don't ignore it. Don't act like because it didn't happen to you, it's not relevant. Because when it happens to one of us, it happens to all of us. Don't be afraid. And always make sure that you seek God in everything that you do, because He will give you the answers. I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this special documentary for the 82-83 Miracle season. It has been adventurous. It has been exciting. I can't wait for the documentary to come out. But I definitely want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of such a great event.
I was a quarterback my ninth grade year. I was on the JV, the junior varsity team. I wasn't directly on the varsity team. So that was my experience of being a part of the 1982 Lake Taylor Titans as a junior varsity quarterback. The impact of the accident of Al Hatchett, it shook the entire building. It was like the building was on a pause. It was during our lunch hour, and I can remember the announcement being made, and it was as if the entire building, just the school building itself, and the teachers, the administrator, the coaches, the players, it was like we were just stuck in time. I would say after the accident and after receiving some grief counseling throughout the school, the team decided to dedicate the season to Al Hatchett in his memory. And again, like I said, it was a human tidal wave, from the administrators to the coaches to the student body to the band. I mean, it was all hands on deck to support the 1982 Titans tidal wave and moving forward. And you could feel the shift. Not only was it a shift for the football program, but it was a shift for the entire school itself. The celebration in the gymnasium with the pep rally and celebrating the Eastern District title. It was a phenomenal year to be introduced into the Lake Taylor football program. The excitement of being a part of that family, even though I was a freshman, seeing the tradition of the pep rally. So once the 1982 Lake Taylor Titans won the Eastern District crown, we celebrated like varsity team coming in and being introduced as champions. It was awesome, and it just was a great feeling. And at that moment, you knew that it was going to be something special. I was like, they're on to something special right now. The first game was the first Colonial game, and it was standing room only. I mean, when I say standing room only, there were people standing around the fence. There was no room in the bleachers. There were people standing in the end zones. That the 1982 Lake Taylor Titans, that once they took the field, the energy was just there. Tony Grady, Kevin Johnson, Gary Hamilton, Steve MacArthur, Alfonso Wiggins, Robert Majette, Mike Borkins. The list goes on and on and on. That team, the 1982 Lake Taylor Titans, was very special. Steve MacArthur was a guy that can go downfield and stretch the field. They had a guy named Ward, tight end, who could, go underneath. Tony, Grady, and Alfonso Wiggins, 1-2 punch, and Kevin Johnson was the engine that made that offense run. And that team, when they took the field against First Colonial, I believe at the time was undefeated, and but it was no stopping the Lake Taylor Titans that night. And then when they moved on to Hampton, that was a shocker, because Hampton had won, I believe, maybe 40 games in a row or 50 games in a row. So it was the David versus Goliath, literally, in 1982. When the Lake Taylor Titans played Hampton at Hampton, they were almost given, one of my coaches used to say, my track coach, Floyd Conley, rest in peace, he said, you got 2 chances of winning if you don't train. None and none at all. And those are the 2 chances people were talking about. Lake Taylor took the field. And again, as I said earlier, they were special. The 1982 Lake Taylor Titans were special. And think about today's world when we watch the Marvel. Lake Taylor was Thanos. Lake Taylor was trying to collect those stones, the Infinity Stones. So the 1982 Lake Taylor Titans was Thanos looking for those Infinity Stones. And as we know, Thanos was stopping at nothing until he got all the stones. And that was the 1982 Lake Taylor Titans. It was nonstop. So, and we knew that the season was dedicated to Al Hatchett, and it was special. And the memory of Al Hatchett and the energy, it was as if Al Hatchett was still in the building, as if he never left. His spirit seemed to be, have wrapped his arms around the team, the school itself. It was an entire shift during that 1982 football season, where when Al Hatchett passed, even though he wasn't in the flesh, his spirit was there, and it just lived in the building. I remember when it was time to load the bus for the varsity football team during that time in 1982 to travel up to Dinwiddie. We had another pep rally. They stopped the school. It was special. We stopped classes. The administrator stopped the classes to send off the varsity 1982 varsity football team to Dinwiddie, such as Lake Taylor. During that time in 1982, and you have administrators in all walks of life, black, white, Asian, Hispanic. We all came together. We were outside celebrating as if, we just knew they were going to come back with the victory. And sending the team off to Dinwiddie, they didn't disappoint. They went up to Dinwiddie, they handled their business, and we partied some more. It was like a never-ending party. So, and again, you could feel Al Hatchett's spirit, throughout that entire time. Priceless. I just said it was priceless.
Okay.
GW Danville, again, like I'll make reference to Thanos. As Lake Taylor was collecting the stones, those Infinity Stones like Thanos. That was the Lake Taylor Titans in 1982. They was collecting those stones. And they ran into GW Danville as if like Thanos ran into the Avengers. And the Avengers, as you know, they came together. There was one big force, and it was a force that Thanos couldn't overcome at that time. So, and I said all that to say Lake Taylor, they made a violent effort. And it was an effort that we would never forget. Even though they lost the game, they won in spirit, in the hearts of not just Lake Taylor football program, but they won the hearts and spirits of people outside of the program. All throughout the 757 area, all throughout, I believe, the nation, in my opinion, because of that tragic accident of Al Hatchett and the way the team started the season 0-2-1, they were winless in the first 3 games. And to make it all the way to the state championship, and even though they didn't win on the scoreboard, they won. The 1982 Lake Taylor Titans were still champions in my mind, in my heart, in my spirit. And they set out to accomplish a goal, and they accomplished that goal. So, and may Al Hatchett rest in peace. And at that moment, despite losing, it was tears, it was hurt. And at the end of the day, we still partied. When they got back, when they returned to the school, The 1982 Lake Taylor Titans, even though they lost the state championship on the scoreboard, they won us. We won, and we celebrated as if we won the state title when they returned to the building. Had a nice pep rally and continued to party, and from that point on, the program never looked back. Here we are 30 years later, and Lake Taylor has won several state titles. That's a tribute to the 1982 Lake Taylor Titans. That team was special. That team turned that entire football program around. 30 years of winning titles and state titles. That night we can look back and point to that special team in 1982, the Lake Taylor Titans, 1982 Eastern Region champions, state runner-ups, and I believe there will be a movie. And if anyone is watching and looking, and if you have any contacts with Tyler Perry, I would love for Tyler Perry to reach out to us here in Norfolk, Virginia, and do these interviews and reach out to our great host who's doing this documentary for Lake Taylor, the 1982 Lake Taylor Titans. So again, it was awesome. It was a special season. Rest in peace to Al Hatchett. Condolences and again to his family. And hopefully this is something that we can dedicate to his memory for a lifetime, as we move on in our lives. But it was a great accomplishment. Even though we didn't win on the scoreboard, we won. We still state champs. Yes, I'm currently living in PG County, Maryland. I'm a school teacher in DC Public Schools. I teach middle school health. I also coach football and track, and I have a conditioning program called Project Impact Sports. And I'm a graduate of Norfolk State University, where I played football. That's a picture of me playing quarterback. Upon graduating from Lake Taylor, I went on to play at Norfolk State University. And then after that, I played a little professional football as well as a quarterback. But I think I'm grateful for the foundation that the Lake Taylor football program provided for me. In my opinion, that 1982 Lake Taylor Titans football team, we can look back, and as I said again, that is the time when the program turned into a powerhouse. And all of the guys that are still alive from that team, those are some special men right now today. And I appreciate those guys for what they did and how they came together. We all know, everyone that's still alive today, that we can point back to the 1982 Lake Taylor Titans and say that was a special season, and that was a miracle season that turned the entire Lake Taylor football program, not just the football program, but their sports program entirely. All the sports at Lake Taylor are winning programs to this day.
Anthony Valdez Crossing, great Lake Taylor High School out of Norfolk, Virginia. A high school wrestler. I also was on the track team. I was in the marching band. Al Hatchett since elementary school. And when he died, it was very, very tragic. He was a gentle giant. He was liked by everybody in the school. You never heard anything bad about Hatchett. So when the accident occurred, it was devastating. It really was devastating. It's unfortunate that it happened, but it did, and it was very emotional, to say the least. Because of his death, and because Lake Taylor was on that great playoff run that they had, it also unified the people of those 7 cities. You didn't hear anybody, hating on Lake Taylor. It was more so everybody was cheering, and the city really saw that Lake Taylor had a chance to win the state championship, and that really energized a lot of people. And a lot of the people from the cities, they traveled with us, on the road. And because of the great Lake Taylor band, A lot of people, they just enjoyed themselves. They enjoyed the game and they enjoyed the entertainment that we provided for them. It really was. It was really nice to see the people just come together like that. It was awesome. Known him since elementary school, and I was a little guy. I was little in stature, so he kind of was my like bodyguard for a little while. You know, nobody messed with Hatchet. He was a big guy, but he was a gentle giant. And when his brother got notified of Hatchet's death, I was with him, and we were practicing um, drums for the band, and we kept hearing people, the staff calling for Hatchet to come to the office. His little brother never got in any trouble either, so we were wondering what in the world is going on. And somebody came and told us what had happened, and it was like the entire Lake Taylor band, the whole school just was stunned. It was silent, and it was very, very sad. As far as myself, I still get affected by it when I think about it, and it's it was something else because it was our senior season, and you know, being a senior is a big thing, you know, and Hatchet was one of those seniors as well. So he poured a lot of energy and emotion into, playing the game. You had no choice but to respect this dude. And Lake Taylor wasn't known for winning championships or any stuff like that. But we did that. Well, we almost did that year. And I just get, very emotional thinking about it. And it's still unfortunate. Realizing we had just won the Eastern District Championship. We had never done that before as a high school with the football team. We were always the middle guys. Um, we weren't the worst, but we was never the best. And when we won it, that was the first time Lake Taylor had done that, and it was real. It's like, hey, we really got a chance to win this thing. And when we won the Eastern Regional, oh my God, we were going to the state and the state championships, and we won the first round. It's like, oh my God, Lake Taylor's going to win the state championship. But, we didn't, even though the other team cheated. But getting there was worth it. It was an experience that most people in high school never get a chance to experience. I have always dreamed of being a writer, and the Hatchet story was something that really, really intrigued me, and it really intrigued me when, I don't know if you remember, Denzel Washington did a movie on the T.C. Williams Titans, who are also from Virginia, and it was called Remember the Titans. And their story was good, but I always felt like our story was better, and I wanted to write about it. And over the years, I still continued pursuing that dream, and I'm still pursuing it today. That's why I'm kind of in love with this documentary, and I'm just glad that it's really, really finally happening, and Hatchet can rest. In the past few years, Lake Taylor has won that state championship that we coveted so bad, and it was like a coming to Jesus moment. I wasn't there in Norfolk, but I was following it from afar, and it was like, wow, the circle had been completed because they won it a couple of times, I believe. But you're talking about mediocre, average, so-called athletes in Norfolk that turned into beasts because of this one tragic event. And I don't know. Me myself, I won an Eastern District championship on my own. Actually, I actually won two. I don't know if um, I know the tragedy of the second one definitely had an effect on me because I didn't want to stop the momentum, and I was one of the most promising wrestlers on our team. So it's still, you know, even though it was months later, the effect of Hatchett's death really did energize the entire school. Every sport, every athlete. We went from mediocre one night to, oh man, real titans the next night. And it happened just that quick. CO, um, I'm on the immigration side, so I see a lot of what they see on the news. I'm, right there in the thick of things in the war on it. So but it's a very promising career. I like it. I love it, and it allows me to still pursue my dream of writing. So I love it. It's unfortunate that some people don't see the positivity in this documentary. They don't see the energy that you provide by, you know, contacting us. And we're old people. You know what I mean? I mean, we're middle aged, but we're old people. So you got to deal with our attitudes, our our everything. And I understand that, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you, and I apologize for those of my age group that don't understand just how important this is. And I won't say they'll regret it. You know, we're too old to regret anything, but it is very, very unfortunate. Uh, we want to lay that man at rest with himself. I I miss Hatchet. You know, I really, really miss Hatchet, and I'm sorry that all of this has occurred. I forgot to say one thing that really, hit my heart is the year after this thing happened. I was a wrestler at Elizabeth City State University, and I happened to run into the quarterback of that GW Danville team that supposedly beat us. And to make a long story short, he confessed that they cheated. He admitted that everybody that suited up wasn't really eligible to be playing. They were so desperate to win a championship. They suited up old college players, old men, anybody that they could find that was athletic and was going to help them on their course to winning the championship. They suited them up. And I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, his name was Percy Mormon. I looked at him like, Percy, you do realize that you're telling a student from Lake Taylor that y'all cheated, man. Y'all cheated us out of a championship. We didn't do none of that. We was just old park boys and, Campostella Heights boys. And, man, you took something from us that we really would have enjoyed. And as you can tell, it really hurts some of us, even to this day, more than 20 years later. So I just thought I'd throw that in there because that's what he told me.
name is Gary McElroy Hamilton Sr., and I played defensive tackle, and I was a backup offensive tackle for the 82 football team. I wanted to be the best player I could be for the team, and I knew this would be my first time ever starting on the varsity, so I knew I had to really put in the work. Pretty much had to train after workouts, that kind of thing, just to get myself ready to go and be that positive link in the chain for the team. I was in my 7th period class, my government class, and the announcement came over the PA system at school. Said all football players, junior varsity and varsity, report to the team locker room. And me thinking, I'm getting out of class early, so I'm kind of liking it. So I'm like, hey, I'm getting out of class early. There's no big deal there. But I had no idea at that time that when I walked into the locker room, everybody asked me, they said, yo, man, you seen Hatchett and Grady? I said, nah, man, they went home to go get their pads or something. And when I looked into the coach's office, I noticed the coaches had this real somber, real sad look on their faces. And I'm like, something ain't right here. And normally Al and Grady would have made it back. It was, I'm 17 years old. How am I supposed to deal with that? And he's my teammate since 9th grade. And wait a minute, this isn't right. And that's all I heard when we lost a teammate today. I immediately broke into tears. I had never faced death before, or someone close to me, and I didn't know what to think. I just cried pretty much the entire time I was there. And it was one of the, I have to say, one of the saddest moments in my life, next to losing my parents. Yeah, I would have to. And after 35 years, it still hits me hard. I played next to him, and we were what you call, we were together. We kind of like joined at the hip on the defense. And I felt that his absence was like, who's going to take his place? Who's going to play hard enough like he did? And my homeboy John Cook stepped up and played like a warrior, and it made it complete. It was hard. It was very difficult to walk around the school and not see him. Teammates, that's some great guys, and I can tell you right now, we pulled together. It was like something just clicked. And we were in practice one day, and we were coming off the field. It was Thursday, and we were preparing to play a game. And one of my teammates said, man, it felt like he was out here with us. And I was like, wow, man. I said, I know I can do this now, and my teammates felt the same way. And it pulled us all together. 17-year-old senior, lost my teammate, but I had all these guys around me coming together, and it was a great feeling. And I think the turning point for us, it was a rival game. And people have been talking about this game for a while because they knew that the Norview Pilots were going to be the Eastern District champions. They actually picked us last in the district. Won the Eastern District title that night. That was the turning point. That's when I knew we were going to be the team to beat. It's amazing what we did for the rest of the season. It was like nobody could touch us defensively or offensively. We beat people in the ground. I'm sorry to say it like that, but it's true. I mean, we had the best defensive line in the city of Norfolk, pretty much almost the state, because we were small but quick, and that's what our theme and our coach wanted to use. Hey, we might not be the biggest team, but we're going to be the fastest team on the field, and we were. And with guys like Michael Boykins, Gene Darby playing linebacker, nothing got past 5 yards. And if it did get past 5 yards, our safeties and our corners were some of the toughest guys I ever played ball with. And we were beasts out there. I'm just going to admit it. We were monsters. And the way the game has changed now, they wouldn't allow us to play. They would have probably just ejected us. Me especially. We had tied them 24-24 in the regular season. And they were happy because they got away. We let them get away from us. And when we played them, they had a running back, one of the best in the, he got player of the year, Will Forbes. And they knew we were coming after him. We were going to shut him down. I think it was about the third play from scrimmage. And he came up the middle, and Jamie Noonan, the nose guard, hit him and took his legs out and broke his ankle. After that, they were all out. We were in shutdown mode. We were not going to let him get past 10 yards. And if he got 10 yards, he was going to have to fight for every inch. And I think that our whole team was just we were just really well prepared. We knew what we were facing. And we went ahead and we won the Eastern Region title that night. The Hampton Crabbers, they had a 35-game win streak, and they were the reigning state champions. Steve MacArthur caught the game-winning touchdown. And I was on the sideline, and when I saw him catch it, I just took a deep sigh of relief. I said, this is over. We got this now. And we had beat a team that had won 35 games in a row, and we shut them down. Dinwiddie, who was the biggest, they were big. These were some big kids. It seemed like the better the teams we got, the bigger they got. And the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And I think it started to wear on us a little bit because some of us were banged up after that game. Me, my ankle, I had a 300-pound guy fall on my ankle, and it was like, Lord have mercy. I mean, it was a tough game, but we won. And I think the best play out of that game was Tony Grady. He went around the side. I thought he was tackled. He broke the tackle. Nobody blew the whistle. And he went in and scored the game-winning touchdown. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. We beat these guys? When he came to the state title. And I'm gonna throw this at you, and it's gonna sound weird when I say it. I was standing in the door in the locker room. And I was just looking out at the field, and I saw their players out there. And all of a sudden, I heard this rumble, and the crowd got loud. It had to have been about 40 or 50 guys coming down the hill, and they had on black and silver. And I could have swore they were the Oakland Raiders. They were that big. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a long day. But I was confident in our ability to get out there and play with them. But that was a long day. We lost the state title, but it was fun getting there. I think it was amazing what we did. You know, a lot of people talk about remember the Titans, but our story is kind of similar. You know, we lost someone who we cared about and we loved as a brother, the most standout memory for me was the Princess Anne game. My family was there, of course. My mom, my dad, my brother, and my sister. And my other brother at the time was in the Air Force. And the game was packed. I mean, it had been about 10,000 people there. And we were on the field, and my mom told me my brother was on the way when I got to the sideline. And later on, my mom and brother told me he was in his Air Force uniform. He jumped the gate to get into the game. I'm like, dude, you mean tell me you jumped in? You didn't pay to get in? He said, I wasn't missing that game. It was funny. And he did the same thing for the first Colonial game. So it was kind of weird. But those are some memories that I have with my family. As far as my memories go with those guys I played with, every game was a great game. Every practice was a fun practice. And to me, it'll always go down in history as one of the best teams Lake Taylor ever had. You know, and that's something I'm gonna always cherish. You know, until I'm a real old man. I pray to God that He lets me tell my great grandkids about the '82 team and how I played a part in it. You know, and honestly, it was something that I'm always cherish. You know, and I'm always be a Lake Taylor Titan, and they're gonna bury me as one. And to my brothers who are gonna do these interviews, I want you to know I love you. I think about you all the time. And being living in Tennessee, I don't get to see them. And this is great for me because I was one of the emotional guys on the team, as you can tell. And I try not to show it, but it's hard because after 30-something years, I still love those guys. They're my brothers, and they're going to always be my brothers. But I want to thank you for this opportunity, for you and Steve, because I get to tell my side of it. I get to tell how I felt. And I always wanted to do this. I wanted to write a book, you know, and might turn it into a movie. I don't know. But I'm going to leave that to Steve. And I'm hoping that this goes further than just us. I just want the young people to see it and to know that, you know, we did something that's carrying on through history. And I think that's an awesome thing. Now, like I said, I want to thank you and Steve for this honor and this privilege to tell my side. And I greatly appreciate it.
My name is Robert Levi Sproul, but people back then they called me Cyclops. Well, still do. A lot of people know me as Cyclops, and in the '82 season I played defensive tackle, 6'2", 305, 310 pounds, perfect now. Back then that was considered too big. So over that summer, I got a bicycle and rode it all over the city of Norfolk. I used to ride from Grandy Park out to Berkeley and Camp Stella and hang out with the guys on the team. One of my boys I used to hang with was Horsox or Albani Hatchett. Here's a dude you played a couple of years of football with already. You gotta realize something. At Lake Taylor, it was a totally different mindset. I don't know how it is at other schools, but at Lake Taylor, you bleed together, you win together, you lose together. So at that point, I see Coach Mo crying. The other coaches patting him on the back like it's gonna be all right. And when he started talking, he said, "I got to tell you something, guys. We had a big problem today." And we're like, "What problem?" And that's what he told. He said, "Albani Hatchett just got killed. He was in a car wreck and died, and just bust out crying." We used to ride in Coach Mo's car Because back then you could leave the school for lunch. No problem. There was no rules against that. After this happened, they changed the rules all over Norfolk. I got up with Tony and Hatchett, all those guys get together and like, yeah, man, we're getting a break, man. We got the keys. Who going with us? And Mike Borges, he had something he had to do. And Kevin, he had something he had to do. And me, I had missed a day of school because I had a doctor's appointment. So I had to make up a test. So I couldn't go. So I'm like, no, I can't go. I gotta take this test. After Coach Mo said, we're gonna dedicate this team to horse hop. Sky's the limit. So yeah, that was my initial reaction, and that's what it did to us. It was the ultimate motivator. Pretty uniform. One of the reasons we weren't as good, guys didn't want to get the uniform dirty. Didn't want to get the uniform dirty. So when we played Kickertown, when we went out there, it was a big mud bog that was out there in Hampton. When we saw warming up, the coach first thing we did, took us straight to the mud. And he said, on your bellies, move. So we had to jump on our stomach. On your backs, move. We had to jump on our backs. On your bellies, he just made us keep jumping back and forth. And he said, get up. We got up. He said, you're dirty now. Let's play football. He took care of that off the bat. Out the chute, I ain't having this right here. No more. I know how to take care of this. You got plain uniforms. You're already dirty. Now, let's play like you look. Like a football player. So that's the way we played. And I mean, immediately. We were just clicking on all cylinders, everything. Just everything was working perfect other than these mysterious touchdowns that was calling back. We held the team to under 100 yards total offense. Get it to everybody. Everybody got the same thing. We had the number one defense in Tidewater. And we ran a 5-2 defense called Okie Straight. I mean, 5 down line, you have nose guard, 2 tackles, 2 defensive ends. And then standing behind them are 2 linebackers. After we won Eastern District Championship, we beat a team that we hadn't beat in a year. Our team hadn't beat this team in a year. They were called Northview Pilots. The bad boys in this city. The real bad boys in the city. And we had to play Hampton Crabbers. So, we were like, man, they the state champion. They had this dude, named Banks that played linebacker and offensive tackle. We ended up playing for Penn State, and they ended up playing for, I think, the Redskins, and I forgot who else he played for, but he had a nice pro career. We had to play against, not me, but we had to play against Sugar Bear. Sugar Bear was much smaller than me, but still a beast, still a giant. Sugar Bear only weighed like 260. Like 260. But Sugar Bear knew more about the game than I could ever think of because he played more years. He was actually a much better player than me. This guy went on to play pro football. Sugar Bear destroyed him. Completely destroyed him. Sugar Bear got no press coverage because of it. No nothing. And we whipped Hampton in the high school. We beat them out. We beat them very well. We would substantially put a whipping on their hind part. And next we had to play First Colonial again. So First Colonial, we just had a tie with them. We already know what the game's gonna be like. Knock down, drag out. We just had we had to really ball against Hampton and everything. But we're on a real high because we just beat the former state champion. Last year's state champion. We beat them. They ran this play and they ran a dive play right up the middle. And they ran against the wrong person. They ran against this little teeny undersized nose guard named Jamie Noonan. You got to remember this name. Me and Jamie Noonan and Sugar Bear and John Cook. And some of the other dudes on the team, Adam Myers and Mike Morgani, We were all in the same homeroom from 5th grade until we graduated from high school. We're 4 of the dudes who started on the defensive line. John Cook at left side defensive end, Sugar Bear at defensive tackle, Jamie Noonan at nose guard, and me at defensive tackle on the right side. And then we had a dude named Charles Wright that was from Capistrello playing the other defensive tackle. The other defensive end. Here us guys been together since 5th grade. Then we started, what's the likelihood of us all end up starting on the same high school football team, right on the defensive line? It was put together, this thing was put together by God. That's the only thing I can come up with. Will Ford Grand that dive play up the middle, and Noonan hit him so hard. He hit him so hard his ancestors felt it. And Noonan broke his leg. And then Noonan, because he knows God, he didn't want to call huddle, on defense. So he huddled us up. He came back, he said, huddle up. He said, man, we got him. I said, what's up? He said, Will Ford's out, man. I just broke his leg. Game that it is now. We played real man football, We had to, when we played, our coaches, just like the other coaches would say, hey, you got to get that guy out the game. You got to do something to take him out the game, because if not, we might not win this game. He hit him and broke his leg, and they cut him off the field, and we just blew him out the water. And won the Eastern Regional, first Eastern Regional. You guys can fold right now, or you can dig down deep. Basically, I'm paraphrasing it, but you guys can dig down deep, and find that Titan spirit, and come out here. Remember I told you about the crescendo, and come out here, and we're gonna win one more for our Bonnie Hatchett, and we graded a hit him. He just kept driving his legs, held onto the football, and bust through and scored. So they made it 7-10, right? And then, they had a defensive series, and the coach like, hey, y'all gotta stop him. Fonzo broke through and scored. We're up 14-10 now. And we got him. So then, we kicked off to them, and it's time for a defensive stand, right? If we stop these guys, that means that, it wasn't enough time for them to get another possession, and that we just got to stop. So we'll put our defense back. We us defensemen, go back on the field, and they try to throw a long pass. And guess who picked this pass up? Nobody but Steve MacArthur, team player, monster, soldier, Titan. Steve picked it off. Pow! Game over. And for you guys who don't know, Steve is also the producer of this movie. Every starter on our defense, other than Maniac Mayo, got a scholarship. Every senior starter on our defense, other than Maniac Mayo, got a scholarship because Maniac Mayo didn't want to go to college. He wanted to go in the Army. He went in the Army. He played cornerback, one of the hardest hitting guys I've ever seen in my life, from Berkeley. So after that season, it was a phenomenal. It changed Lake Taylor football forever. After that, that school has never had a losing season. We're in vocational industrial education from Norfolk State. Even though I got a scholarship at Hampton, I was a rough and tumble kid from the projects, and I got in a fight over a girl and hit a guy and cracked his eye socket. So I lost my scholarship. You can't go around big giant punching people because you have a disagreement with somebody. And I learned that the hard way. I'm going to do this real quick. I had this one girl, I was working at Calvert Square Recreation Center. And this is during the time of, Biggie Smalls was still living and everything. So I'm sitting in my office, right? And this girl named Deshauna Holly, real rambunctious young lady, real funny. Her and this other girl, I've got the other girl and they hang together, and they still hang together. They standing by the office and they bent down by the door. And Deshauna stick her head in the doorway, right, and look at me, and she say, "Biggie," and yank her head back real quick like that, right? I'm like, what the world is that? And then she stuck her head back around the corner like that again. She said, "Biggie Draws." She was calling me, instead of Biggie Small, she was calling me Biggie Draws. Oh, funny as it get. Yeah, I had my kids, so I decided to have them late, and now I'm enjoying my sons in my retired life.
Full name is Harry Minium, last name Minium. Right now I'm a senior executive writer at Old Dominion University. In 1982, I covered high school sports for the Virginian Pilot, and I worked at the Pilot for 39 years. It was such an amazing story that I think people in Virginia Beach and Chesapeake and, people all around Norfolk kind of rallied around this team because it was an incredible story. I've never covered a team with more heart than that team. I mean, I believe they started 1-2. 1-1, and I believe then Al Hatchett then passed away, and they lost their next game. And to win all the rest of the regular season, win the Eastern District title, it was just amazing. It was a group of working class kids. They weren't very big, like 7 or 8 of them started both ways. It was just amazing to see them play as well as they did, and especially with all the heart they played with. I can't imagine being 17 or 18 years old and losing a teammate and playing as hard and as well as they did. It's the most amazing thing I've seen in my 40-something years as a journalist. After they won a couple of games, after Al Hatchett passed, they won a couple of games, and you could see, Fonzo Wiggins, he was a great running back, and you could see the offensive line was opening some holes for them. They were gaining their confidence, and you could also see that they were a team on a mission. They were playing for Al Hatchett, and a couple of 2 or 3 games, 2 or 3 victories down the road, I realized this is a team that could do great things. Now, a lot of people didn't agree with me. A lot of people thought that this is they're not that good. They're not going to do well. And then they went into the playoffs, and they did really well. Pretty sure that game was played at Princess Anne High School, and the place was packed. And, I don't think anyone there thought Lake Taylor had a chance, except me and a few of their fans and the players on the sidelines. It was, you're not supposed to root when you're a sports writer, but man, it felt good. They just ran all over First Colonial. First Colonial, coached by Frank Webster, they were a great program back then. And that's when I think people in the region finally figured out this is really a good team. And I'll never forget that game. I don't remember the specifics of that week, quite honestly. It's been 40 years. I do remember him as a guy who was just relentless. He had a tremendous work ethic, and every play for him was a challenge. He didn't sit out a play. He ran all of his routes very hard. He blocked hard. He was just like most of his teammates. He was just a hard-nosed player, and he had some talent. I thought they were going to win. No one else thought so. Beating Mike Smith and his team, I believe that was played at Todd Field and Newport News, and there were all Hampton fans there. There weren't a lot of Lake Taylor fans. Like you said, Hampton had not lost to a Southside team in more than a decade. I think it maybe had been longer. It was incredible. They won 17-14. I remember the score. And I remember Mike Smith, who's a good guy and who I've gotten to know since, coming out on the field, and the Lake Taylor coach is shaking his hand, and he's just in shock. And I remember his wife coming out on the field, who I've since gotten to know, just crying her eyes out. It was from that point on, people believed in Lake Taylor, because if you beat Hampton, that to me may have been their best victory this season, beating him. That's right. I'd forgotten they beat FC at Met Park and then at Princess Anne. I was speaking of the championship game. Yeah, I remember the game at Met Park. The regional game. I think it was after beating Hampton. People had a lot of respect for Lake Taylor. I still think people expected FC to win, and because their program at that time was just year after year after year. They would do well in the playoffs. They would win the beach title and do well in the playoffs. But I don't remember the score, but Lake Taylor won the game fairly handily, I do believe. Think of that. Their defense shutting down First Colonial's, running game. I believe they ran the option back then. And you got 8 guys playing both ways. They're playing offense and defense at Lake Taylor. And for them, the whole First Colonial was 7 points. I remember how quiet the crowd was. All these FC fans came to Princess Anne to see their team win. And the one thing I remember most of all is how the dignity of the Lake Taylor players as they won. There wasn't a lot of grandstanding or celebrating. They just did their business. They just won. And then at the end of the game, they shook the hands of the other team. And I think everyone respected all the Lake Taylor players. I came to the Virginian Pilot from the Richmond News Leader, so I knew a little bit about Richmond area football, and quite frankly, I did not think Dinwiddie would win that game simply because they don't play the kind of football in Richmond that we play here. I think that game was 14-10. It was closer. From what I remember, I actually flew to that game. We had it's the first and only time I've ever been in Danville, and we took a little private plane because we wanted to get back to Norfolk in time to get the pictures and everything done. So the only way to do that back in 1982, pre-internet and all that, was to actually fly out there. There were 9,000 or 10,000 people that game. It was a first-class stadium, and that was a huge team. They were just really talented. They were the best team in the state that year. But it's amazing. Just think about it though. A team that was 1-2 and had lost, a guy who was sort of the heartbeat of the team to a terrible accident, and they got to the state championship game. I mean, that's just an amazing feat. Like I said, I've covered a lot of great teams over the year. The Virginia Tech team that almost won the national championship in 1999. A lot of Old Dominion basketball teams that are really being good. I've never covered a team at the heart of that 1982 Lake Taylor team. I've never had a more favorite team than that one. I just love those guys. One of the things they did is they helped bring Norfolk together. And we live in racially divided times now. Just think about how bad, it was much more divided 40 years ago. And how could you not love these kids? It's just amazing what they did. And I think a lot of people wouldn't necessarily rally around an inner city football team. Really thought a lot of these kids, and they deserved it. They were all good human beings, and most of them have, from what I understand, have grown up to be good parents, good fathers. Hey, Titans, if you guys ever have a reunion, you better invite me. I'd love to see how they've done in life. I'd love to just see them one more time. Such a great group of kids.
My name is Stephen MacArthur. I attended Lake Taylor High School from the year 1980 to 1983. During the Titans 82 Miracle season, I played wide receiver, solo punt returner, third down free safety, and kickoff returner. The fatal car accident of my dear friend, excuse me, and teammate Al Hatchett had a major effect on me. You see, Al was more than a teammate to me. Al was my friend. Moments before I boarded my Voltec bus en route to my art class, I heard someone say, "Yo, Steve, come and ride with us, man." So I turned around and noticed it was Al. So I responded by saying, "Yo, Al," I said, I'll catch y'all when I get back from Voltec, man. I see y'all at practice." That was my last time seeing him alive. Even though this year marked the 41st anniversary for both Al Hatchett and the Titans 82 Miracle season, it still seemed like yesterday to me. You know, that's just how impactful his fatal car accident had on me. Directly after our biggest upset of the year versus the Hampton Crabbers, who were a 35-0 before they played the Mighty Titans, I was blessed to receive an interview by sports journalist Mr. Ken Ryan. And throughout that entire interview, I just spoke, of course, of my dear friend Al Hatchett. Trust me, I was extremely fatigued. Matter of fact, I played the entire 48 minutes. I played the entire 48 minutes at 4 different positions. But I was inspired by Al because I knew Al, he would never quit on the field, nor would he quit on his teammates. So I knew that Al wouldn't quit, so I didn't quit either. This was my first year actually making a memorial for my dear friend Al Hatchett. But it's like this: as long as God bless me with the warm blood running through my vein, I will make it my business to do a memorial every year. And then when God called me home, I hope someone else will pick up the mantle and keep it going. Despite starting the season off with a record of 0-2-1 during our first 3 games, we managed to complete the season with a record of 9-3-2. As a result, we were the Eastern District and regional champs. We also were the state runner-up that year. So, yes, it was definitely a miracle season.